Go.
Sorry, Blake, we're ready. Sorry, we're talking.
Okay, good morning and welcome to my pitch presentation for my idea, Angels. Now, would you like the trailer music to be playing in the background to make it more
I
active?
think so, yes.
Okay, I'll get that going.
Thank you.
Why not? Give it more texture.
Yeah.
You need to unfull screen it, Blake.
It's fine, it'll pop up over here. It's just the Mac being taking ages and ages.
So while waiting for that, is this music that you've created?
No, it's not.
Okay.
But
that's fine.
On that topic, I am planning on making my own music for the pitch and working with music students, but we've got that to look forward to.
Have your arms recovered from last week? Like,
Oh, they weren't that bad to
Okay.
begin with, they're alright.
Like, I'll take a couple of photos and stick in the Dropbox for you to use as
Okay.
well.
took loads of photos last week in our team building exercises. Ran out on them.
W being William.
Yeah. I thought it would be more official this time.
Yeah, no,
I really like the dot there as well.
yeah, it's something. Yeah.
It's bringing the Steve Jobs out in myself.
She got off work at 4 and I was still up.
There we go.
Okay. If you want to turn it up a bit, you can use the.
Oh, I'm okay with it being just ambient.
Okay.
Alright, there we go. Okay. In this project, I am aiming to bring everything together that I've learned in the last 2 years, all into one big project at the end. I'm planning on bringing 2D animation so that I'm not limited by a camera lens, and I'm trying to reach out as far as I can in my imagination to bring everything I can and put it onto a page. And as well as that, I intend to use media students to get voice actors as well as myself to work on that, and I plan on using music students that I've developed relationships with over the last few months to create a score for my project as well. The basic concept for my video is that there is a world that's inhabited by humans and angels. At some point in history, scientists were able to come up with a process to give people wings, so that all of the rich in the world now have wings and they're now seen as public heroes of the world. And being an angel has become the new celebrity status in this world. My plot is going to be a snapshot sort of story following our protagonist Sam and his journey to becoming an angel. Sam is going to be the main character of this film, but I'm going to be focusing a lot more on the actual world and how it would be affected by angels existing. I'm going to be writing scenes showing how the world would be affected by angels existing and how people would react to those situations. And I'm going to keep the structure of the story relatively simple, just so that I can focus a lot more on the world and how I can be creative around that. And I'm thinking of trying to recreate some film scenes if angels did exist back then. For example, Ghostbusters giving Bill Murray wings. I like that idea, right?
Yeah.
My inspiration from this idea came from an idea I came up with a little while ago that I've been sitting on, which is just simply the world being inhabited by angels as well as humans. And another film that I got this inspiration from was Dogma, which just shows the human element of being angels and being impure in a way.
Can I just ask a very quick question, Blake?
Yeah.
Sorry. Do they have to have passed to become angels, or they literally become angels in the living world?
It's more angels just in the sense of they have wings, so it's more of a
Okay.
scientific process. They just glue wings to someone's back if
Okay.
they've got enough money.
So is it more like a fashion accessory for the suit?
Not really a fashion accessory because they are practical, but it is more material than spiritual.
Oh,
In that way.
yeah.
Right.
It's letting you influence.
The genre that I came up with for this film is experimental drama, because I couldn't find anything else that really fit as well as that. I chose drama because I want to show the impact that being angels and having angels in the world would impact society as a whole. And experimental is in there because I want to see if this is a concept worth bringing into the future as well. If I'd want to take it from this 3 to 5 minute sort of video and maybe take that concept further in my future as well. The themes that I'm going to be broaching in this film are themes of belief and irony. One, because there is obviously the religious connection between angels and humans, but I don't want to broach that too deeply, as I don't feel like I've done the proper research at this point to go really deeply into that, but that's something I am going to look into a lot more in the next few days. And the irony is the topic of angels being seen as these perfect embodiment of God in human form, but in these human hands they are imperfect, and not all people are heroic, and some are even evil. The characters that I've come up with so far are Sam, the protagonist. I had taken some inspiration from how I see myself in the final design, but I did go through quite a little bit of design process in the making of this character, and I do quite like the look of this guy, who might be the false hero of the story, for example. But I'm going to come up with more characters as I go. I did some brief designs for the antagonist of the film, who is Dirk. I went for some really quite opposite character designs. I'm much preferring this guy though, as he's like the slobby kingpin sort of thing. He's just a representation of the rich, the greedy, who just bought wings because he could. And the idea behind him is that he got them right at the start of his wealth, so he was a lot skinnier, a lot more professional back then, which is why the wings are so small compared to his figure now.
I like it.
It's just showing his greed over time. To finish things off about my film, find the page. The basic story is just going to be a snapshot of the world, showing angels and humans in the same space and how that will affect the world as a whole. I'm going to get creative with showing how the world would be impacted, how films would have changed, how politics would have changed. And an idea that I quite like is Parliament just having everyone in there with wings and it just being a fight. Just a room full of flies.
The end game.
And as I go through with my development, I'm going to find out more characters that will bring the story together and be able to employ Archie and Toby as well. I came up with a brief idea of what my audience would look like, and this is Michael. Michael is a young adult guy in his early 20s. He's the inquisitive type, he enjoys puzzles, and he's always looking to talk to new people, although he always finds himself being the quieter one of the group and always listening. He's relatively new to his working life, and he's just trying to find his own place in the world. My idea for script writing, storyboarding, and the animatics are to do them all simultaneously, just building upon my ideas, going between these 3 steps until I am at a story I'm happy with. I'm going to be basically using all of my scene ideas as plot points and building upon them in the script, drawing up sketches in the storyboard, and then making a moving storyboard in the end that I'm all happy with until I find the story I'm looking for. And these are the mediums that I'm going to be using to make all of my scripts, storyboards, and animations. Here is an animation that I've made in the past that is going to show the style of animation that I'm going for. Just going to pause that for a second. Alright. So it's that style of animation that I've done in the past that I'm going to be bringing into this so that I, one, have the time to do it, because it's much more sketchy style than some of the more refined stuff in the industry at the minute. But I'm going to be using that style, maybe a bit more colour, to bring the story together in a understandable and... I can't think of the word. So that I can all fit it into the time scale that I get.
How long do you think it'll end up being, Blake?
3 to 5 minutes long, I'm aiming to hit. So it's just a short story to bring the concept to life.
Almost like a snippet of the concept, yeah.
This is the budget that I'm really happy isn't my real budget, because I wouldn't want to throw that much money into this. I'm going to try and get all this done for as close to free as I can. I have all of the Adobe products at home already. They're already paid for, so I'm going to include that cost, but I'm thinking it's going to take around 2 months, which is around £80 just from there. But with recruitment and my own work, I'm going to be trying to reach out very close to myself instead of getting freelance, because I looked up freelance costs and they can be around £500 a day for their work. So I'm going to try and keep it as cheap as I can to make. Here is some of the initial research that I did with a questionnaire. I'm going to be trying to do a bit more of these, do a bit more of my own primary, secondary research to know what I'm talking about, so that I know all the cap codes, all of everything that I can say, and so that I know what I need to do to put this where I want it to be, either online or keeping it in college or sending it off to film festivals as well. Alright, here is some of the dumb stuff. So the dull stuff, I mean, just so that you know that I have put thought into all of the planning and paperwork for this. The logistics, I'm well aware of the time scale that we've been given, which is why I'm trying to shoot for a shorter project and only giving a snapshot view into this concept. The recruitment, I'm going to be looking to reach out very close to myself in college, using music students, media students, and keeping it as close to free as I can, and being very kind to them so that I don't have to actually pay them money. The resources that I need, I am mostly in... I have most of them myself already, and anything that I don't have, college will be able to provide for me, as long as I ask nicely enough. The schedule is the thing that I'm going to do, the very next thing that I'm going to do, getting everything into place so that I know when it's all going to happen, how it's going to happen. And after that, I'm going to get the contingencies ready so that I know that if anything does go wrong, I will be able to mend any of those problems and get it done on the dot. Editing is something that I will not have to worry about too much, because the animation will cover that, a lot of that on its own. When I'm making the animatics and the storyboards, a lot of the story beats will just fall into place naturally, so the editing will happen more in the pre-production than post, and the animation will cover the rest of that when needed in production. The sound design, I'm going to be finding a lot of the sound online where I can, making sure that I do have the permissions to use any of those sounds in either private domain with college, or whether I can use it on YouTube in film festivals, and any other sounds that I need, I will be trying to create myself to really bring the world to life.
What do we call that, Blake?
Foley.
Mm.
VFX is something that I'm going to add at the very, very end, if I have time for it. It's just to make it really fancy, give it that pristine look, if I have the time right at the end. The marketing I'm going to be doing for this is having Instagram and TikTok to really reach out to the target audience that I'm establishing, and I'm going to be making videos on the TikTok and posting images and short videos on Instagram to pull in that audience, get their contribution, and know what my audience wants. And the distribution really depends on the sound that I'm going to be gathering, what my teammates will be happy with, and whether there will be any copyright issues in the distribution. But I do plan on putting it on YouTube if I can, and if I'm proud of it, I will be putting it into film festivals that I can find. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you,
to my
Blake. Now, I love the fact, Blake, because we only saw your drawing and animation skills, I think, in that mock interview, didn't we? It's the first time we even knew you did any of this, and so
Yeah.
I'm really, really pleased
Are
you've
you going
chosen
to do
this.
this at uni?
Media, but I'm going to try and incorporate it.
Specialise.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is a talent for it, so it's something
Yeah.
you should always try and harbour.
And what's lovely
use.
this time, you've brought in that real strong narrative of actually having such an exciting storyline. I'd love to see it. I can't. Well, I could imagine all these characters in Parliament, and I love. Was it Dirk?
Dirk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Dirk.
I kind of love him already. I want to
Yeah.
see his story and just hear more about him. So just another excellent pitch, covered so many different ideas as well. Yourself really confident, really assured as well. You've got the music playing in the background to give us a vibe. And just the fact you've taken everything. I always say this is what we want to see, and it wasn't just black and white. You've actually just taken the photos to just bring these characters to life, as if we could just, flick through your sketchbook. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and just the use of your terminology as well. It's obvious this is now in your head what the antagonist is called, and the different way, the sort of like use of Foley. So remember all that terminology when you write it up. And just experiment, because again you've got the time now, because you can do a lot of homeworking, and I know that's a question you asked originally, how much am I allowed to do at home, and I think yes you do have to, but we want to see you in college as well. We want to be watching as you go and talking to us about your ideas, trying out different things. So yeah, I'm really excited for you, Blake, so well done.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, I've loved it. It seems really exciting. I was worried when you said that it was going to be an animation. I mean, that's a lot of work, but the type of animation you're doing now makes much more sense to me, and I think that is very realistic. Yeah, I can't wait to see the finished project. The thing that I was thinking about was when you said that you were going to do the script writing, storyboarding, and the animation at the same time. From experience, I find sometimes that can make life a bit difficult for yourself. I think if you had a rough idea of, images or shots that you want to have, or one plot point in the story, and then you can go and make it, I think, otherwise you're just going to get a bit lost in it if you try and do them all at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you can give yourself a rough plan before you start, like the storyboard or whatever, I think that will help you.
Okay.
But yeah, it all looks really good. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Lovely presentation, Blake. Really nice, and you've got a great confident style. Nice that you have the music in the background. I love the style of your PowerPoint, and it's clear that you're already being very experimental in your ideas, and we can really see the idea growing. You've done a nice level of independent kind of first-hand primary research yourself. You've listened to that research, and then you've developed your idea on. So I think it's really good that you're speaking to the people who are going to be your audience and getting inspiration from them and saying, where do you want this to go? I love the concept. It's almost like an episode of Black Mirror, do you know what I mean? It can be. I love anything around that idea of kind of virtuous, or people that can buy virtue, or people that, that whole kind of status thing. And then you'd have very virtuous people that wouldn't get their wings, even though they're incredibly decent humans. and the whole injustice of that. So I feel quite excited by your concept and by your idea, but I think, like Kate said, now's the time to really refine where this is going to go, and actually kind of play out that storyline and have that kind of end goal of where is this, what kind of resolution am I going to see at the end of it. And I know it's only a snapshot that we're seeing, so you know it could be quite open-ended, but at least kind of design that pathway of what we're going to see where and when. Do you see what I mean? To kind of build that, because I think what's important for you to keep in your head is, what do you want your audience to feel when they watch this? It's not just, I mean, it's going to visually be very nice as well, but what do you want them to feel about? Because the whole concept is going to stir up some feeling and some emotion. So yeah, I really like that. Yeah, and I love, you know, all your sketches look great. I had no idea you were so artistically talented as well. A bit concerning that your schedule's not in place just yet, because I think really you probably needed to tighten that up a little bit sooner, just to give you that time management. But yeah, if you get on that today, but I love the levels of kind of representation that you're going to be exploring through this as well. And when I heard that it was less kind of spiritual and more status and stuff like that, I thought, oh, this is interesting, isn't it? And it's different, certainly original as well. So yeah, well done, really good.
Yeah, the originality of it is the very unique selling point, because it's come from you. It's all your idea. Just to expand a little bit, I think you just said you're going to create you're creating an environment which will give you, from what you've explained to us, endless possibilities of different scene scenarios, all that, endless possibilities. At the same time, that might hinder you because it could be too big. So what you need to do pretty quickly is try and work out exactly what it is you want to show us. And then that ties into your process. Like you said, you're going to sketch, draw and think of ideas as you go along, but kind of try and give yourself a couple of days where you just really start jotting down those key plot points, those key kind of scenes you think would be rewarding as an audience and fun for you to create. What's going to make you happy? What's going to make us happy? It is huge. And talking about that, I've written it down because you've kind of come up with your tagline yourself. It's more material than spiritual. That's really stood out to me, and that kind of sums up this idea really nicely.
I like that.
You can have loads of fun with it, but at the same time, you need to plan it really well, because otherwise you will just drift and you'll lose yourself, and the time will just go.
Yeah, and again, go back to short filmmaking as with your 3-act structure, and then that will give the audience, we're on a journey and it is purposeful and going somewhere as well. And I think that will, with your schedule, linking in with the timeline of making it, and then using just your animation almost secondary once you've got it really firm, I think that will help the flow of your drawing storyboards as well. So
you still need scripts, you still need to know what it is you want to get across. Sound design is key. You talked about Foley, music, all that is going to be super key. So whatever recordings you need, and I would try and emphasise and suggest you try and record as much as you can. Create those sounds yourself. Obviously voice work, got to be really clear, so those recordings need to be great, because like any sound, if it's not up there, it will let the whole thing down. The only thing I would like to see more of, and your scissor reel was great because it really shows off your talent, will there be more detail within the world you create? Because those were just, there's not much, in terms of backgrounds, so if we got Dirk and he's in a big mansion or something, are we going to see that in the background with his,
that is the base style that I'm going to be using.
Yeah, which is great, I love it.
That's just because the sketchy outlines make it much more dynamic for me to draw. I feel like, but in the final product, I do plan on having a lot more colour to really bring the backgrounds into
so
the
we
world.
will see the environment that they're in.
It's almost like seeing cityscapes or mansions, whatever it might be that goes with the scene or the sketch, because I kind of see it as like they're going to be individual little sketches, aren't they? That all tie together,
a little bit.
Follow that theme of a story based around the characters.
And it almost only needs to be a flash of that environment or that background.
I can even see water,
and then
just
close-ups.
very gentle watercolours, and then just sharp pen outlines of buildings, and just a wash, just with colour as well. So yeah, really good.
But look, your presentation's really good. You've got a lot of planning to do, obviously schedule.
Yeah.
You talked about recruitment, so you mean people you're going to get to do voiceover work and help you with music maybe.
Yeah.
Look, it's a great project. The great thing is with animation, it's personal. You can do a lot of this at home in your spare time. You don't always have to be in here working, so that's great. You don't rely on others too much at this moment in time. But I look, you're talented, and we've said once we discovered this about you, Blake, this is something you should really pursue because it's there's a market, there's a lack of people in the industry at the moment doing this sort of stuff, so it will open a few doors, and so keep doing it and look forward to seeing what you should really do.
And go for that professionalism again. We talked about the voiceover artist. Try not to let your mates just record it at home on their phone.
Yeah.
Step it up to booking out the professional booth down the corridor. Getting them in like how you would normally do it in the industry, unless they've got professional equipment at home.
I almost said to you the other day, like, I think we did talk about, why don't you try and find like a celebrity in the area that could be your voice? You find that, don't you? Someone who's from a different kind of part of the media, might be in a gardener's world, someone who's got a voice that kind of would match what the story you're trying to tell. Yeah. So something to think about. Push yourself. It's your last
he comes
project.
across as a bit of a buffoon, isn't he? A little bit overweight, eats too much cheese and drinks too much port, and having that much more from somebody in their 40s or 50s.
Yeah, definitely.
Which perhaps a voiceover artist or somebody you might know who's 17 hasn't quite got that, unless they're an amazing voice actor. So, as I say, treat it as you're making a professional film now, and really reach out. And even if you don't succeed, you don't get any success. At least you've kind of reached out to try and finding that right voice. As well. Yeah. Well done.
Blake, brilliant, well done. Yeah, really good.
Thank you, Blake. Next bloke, you're free to go.
You are free.
Should we have a quick
Are we having a break?
break?
Having
Yeah.
a break?
Get,
Okay.